This OBGYN is going to tell you the best position to have a baby in, and you might actually be very surprised. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Jennifer Lincoln, board-certified OBGYN, author, educator, and welcome to this health class where we are talking about the best position to have a baby in, and this might ruffle some feathers. Before I start, go ahead and like, subscribe, turn on the bell so you don't miss this content that is evidence-based, easy to understand, and is the stuff you need to counter all the garbage that's out there on social media. Okay, before I tell you the best position to make sure your baby comes out vaginally, let's talk about what is the most common position, which is on your back, right? I think we have all seen videos or we've seen in the movies how people tend to give birth. Heck, you've even seen it in my birthing simulations, right? Where the simulation model is such that the person looks like they're on their back or maybe they're like leaned up or something like that, right? And every time I post one of those videos, people say, you don't have to birth on your back. Why are you doing this? And you're actually completely right. So where did this come from? A lot of people will put in my comment section, oh, it's because of King Louis XIV, which is so random, right? But he had something like 22 children, and it's rumored that he liked to see his babies being born, and that could only be best achieved if the person giving birth was on their back. Now, that may be true, but there's also probably some other reasons, such as the increasing use of forceps, which, as you see in this video here that I'm doing this, it's easier and safer to do when somebody's on their back to be able to use that tool. But also when twilight sleep was used more frequently, basically we were knocked out and babies were pulled out of us, which is a story for another day. People were put on their back because of that, because it's really hard to stand if you're knocked out. So probably a multitude of reasons as to why this has become a more common way for people to give birth. And so why is it still the way it is today? Well, I'm going to be super honest. It's the way that most of us OBGYNs were trained to deliver babies. Midwives is a different story, but I'm talking about myself as an obstetric provider. It's also an easier position if you're training somebody else and you're teaching them. It's also done more commonly because more people have epidurals during labor, and the thought is that if they're numb from the waist down, they can't stand or squat, and so this is the easiest way, which we will discuss. It's also done very commonly because it's easier to monitor the person giving birth, right? The straps that they wear to monitor the fetal heart rate, to keep an eye on bleeding from below. We've been led to believe that this is an easier way to do it. And there's also the general idea that it's somehow safer, it would allow for quicker intervention, if somebody's bleeding or we're doing these things, having somebody on their back allows us to jump in more quickly. So is it better? Are all of these things true? Actually, not at all. No, we have studies to show that birthing on your back for a lot of people is not better, which is super frustrating because we've been led to believe that this is the way we have to do it. So there was one meta-analysis, which is a bunch of studies that showed that without an epidural, so talking about people who do not have an epidural, that standing upright led to shorter times pushing, which if you don't have an epidural, you want that, lower rates of forceps-assisted delivery and vacuum-assisted delivery, and less pain. And the reasoning behind this makes sense, right? These alternative positions can allow for more space in the pelvis, can allow that tailbone to flex and make more room for the baby to come out, and then just good old-fashioned gravity. But you might say, okay, cool, Dr. Jen, especially if you're a nurse or an OBGYN watching this, yeah, that's super cool for people without epidurals. But if you have an epidural, you gotta be on your back. Let's talk about it. Studies have actually shown that side lying with an epidural can be more ideal. Again, because you're getting that person off their back, you're allowing that tailbone to flex out a little bit, and so you're creating a bit more space in the pelvis. And studies have also shown that if you have an epidural, moving around in labor is more ideal to allow that baby to come down in an ideal position in the birth canal. But there's not a ton of evidence if you have an epidural what the best position is. We just know that being on your side can be more helpful. Okay, so what is the best position to have a baby in? It's whatever position you want to have a baby in. And some of you, like I said, if you're an OBGYN, you're watching this, you might be really annoyed because you're going to say, I don't do that. I only deliver people on their back because that's how I was trained. And you want me to be doing the thing that I'm the most skilled at. I'm going to say, maybe not. Maybe we need to rethink that, because just because you were trained a certain way doesn't mean that's what's best for the patient. And we're really smart people. We can learn how to do new things. So here's how you can choose to birth, and whatever way you want to do is almost always the best way to do it. And here's some different positions. So you can stand, you can squat, you can kneel, you can be on hands and knees, you can be sitting, whether it's like on a toilet or on a birthing chair, you can lie on your side. And honestly, this is how the vast majority of people around the world give birth, are in these positions. I would myself would say there are some exceptions. So if I am doing a forceps or a vacuum delivery, I am going to want you on your back, because if we're doing that, we have now left the realm of like no intervention, low risk labor and delivery. And so if I'm doing that, whether it's because baby's, heart rate is actually very dangerous right now, or you've been pushing for 3 hours and you need help, I do want to do that technical procedure in a way that I have been trained. The other thing too is that if there's a safety concern, for baby or for the person giving birth, where them standing up could be dangerous. So if you're on medicines that make you woozy, or if you've got some really severe blood pressures that are very dangerous, or we have other concerns that, that I think we need to individualize, then sometimes we may talk about why being on your back, or at least, semi-reclined, may be important. So the data shows us that being on your back is maybe one of the worst birthing positions, but the best position is the one that you feel comfortable in, that seems to be working, and that at the end of the day isn't dangerous for you or your baby. So you might be thinking, Dr. Jen, well, I think I might want to deliver on all fours, but I'm worried my doctor won't let me. Here's how you handle that. Number one, you bring it up during your prenatal care, because then you can kind of figure out, is this person going to respect your wishes in labor, or are they maybe not the best fit for you? You also want to bring it up during your labor, while you're in labor with your nursing team. You want to talk about your different options. You don't want to wait until it's time to push to be like, oh wait, I'm thinking about this. Let's talk about it during the whole process. I really think having a doula, which is somebody who can support your birth and be an extra advocate for you, is a great option and can help with some of that communication. And you may want to consider midwifery care. Yes, I as an OBGYN am saying that. Midwives are fantastic. They are the experts at low intervention birth, and they are trained to do this more frequently. But I would like to see people like me, obstetric providers, get more comfortable with doing deliveries in all these positions. I have done them in all these positions, and guess what? They're fine. And when all else fails, you're the boss. So if you're in the midst of giving birth and your doctor and your nurse are saying you're not allowed to stand up for your birth, well, why can't you just do it anyway? It's your body, right? You get to decide. So I'm not here to say be disruptive, and I'm not trying to undermine healthcare teams here, but we have to value autonomy and understand that we do get to decide. And I will end this with my own story. So I had my second baby without an epidural, and going into the process, I thought, I am not going to be laboring in the bed. I'm going to be moving around, squatting, all the things, because I wanted to. And I will tell you that once I was in active labor, which was very short because it went very quickly, I did not leave that bed. And if you tried to get me out of that bed and get me off of my back, I probably would have kicked you. To me, that was just how it ended up, how I wanted to be. So I don't want you to think that delivering on your back is a bad thing. Like I said, do what feels right for you. Okay, what do you think about this? Were you surprised? Go ahead and check out my reference in the show notes and leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about all this, whether you are somebody who's pregnant or who's given birth, or you're an OBGYN who maybe totally disagrees with me, or maybe you don't. I would love to hear it. All right, everybody. Till next time. Bye-bye.